The wind carried dust like whispers across the high prairie as the stagecoach pulled away, its rattle vanishing into distance. Ethan Callahan stood alone on the forked road, boots planted in a place that didn't feel right. His hands hung heavy at his sides, one gripping the worn satchel that held his few belongings and one folded letter, creased, softened, nearly rubbed blank from too much reading. The directions had said Peterson Ranch. But he saw no sign. Only the endless swell of land, a scatter of pines to the west, and two dirt trails stretching in opposite directions like fate split in half. He tasted iron in the wind, smelled dry grass, sun-baked pine, and the coming of rain before it showed. Then a scream. Not wind. Human. Small. He moved. The satchel dropped with a soft thud. His stride lengthened, boots pounding dry soil. Beyond a knoll, a black stallion bucked and screamed, maddened, tangled in broken reins and fear. And in its path a girl. No more than 6. Pale dress. Hair wild as a bird's nest. Frozen. Ethan shouted once, no words, just warning. She didn't move. He surged forward, seized the dangling reins. The horse reared, hooves lashing. Dust filled his lungs. The animal's breath steamed like smoke in the heat, its eyes rolling white, panicked. Ethan held on. Held tighter. Feet slid in the dirt, but his arms were made from the hard years behind him. He whispered calm into the roar. The beast slowed. Trembled. Yielded. Silence fell like a dropped veil. The child ran to him, flung her arms around his leg. Her cheek pressed against his boot as if anchoring herself to earth again. She didn't speak at first, just wept with that sharp, stifled gasp of a child taught not to cry too loud. Then she lifted her head and looked at him with eyes full of sky. My mama's alone, she whispered. Marry her. He knelt, heart still slamming against his ribs. Dust clung to his throat. He studied her face, sunburnt nose, scratched arms, but eyes bright with something fierce. Hope maybe. Or faith. He didn't answer. Only reached up, ran a slow hand along the stallion's trembling neck, and nodded once toward the hills. Which way? She pointed east. He followed. The ranch was a humble place stitched together by need more than pride. Weather-worn fence, chimney cracked at the base, a single window missing its glass and patched with oilcloth. Smoke rose from a crooked flue. Laundry fluttered on a sagging line, a child's dress dancing beside a man's faded shirt worn thin by memory. A woman stepped onto the porch, one hand shielding her eyes from the sun, the other clenching her apron. She was no older than 28, but hardship aged her at the edges. Hair bound tight to her neck, posture stiff like someone who waited for bad news even in peace. The child, Lydia, ran to her, throwing herself into the woman's arms. The woman crouched to hold her, hands checking every limb, her voice hushed, panicked. Then her gaze found Ethan. He stood still as stone. I don't know who you are, she said. But thank you. Her voice was low and even, not cold, not welcoming. Just careful. Just passing through, Ethan replied. Still he didn't leave. He helped walk the stallion into a makeshift pen. Helped patch the fence while the woman, Clara, watched from the porch. Lydia stayed close, her small hands tugging at his sleeve, asking if he'd stay for supper, if he knew how to fix a roof, if he ever rode a bear. The woman did not invite him in. But she didn't ask him to go. That night, as dusk poured amber across the floorboards, Clara placed a bowl in front of him. Stew thin as river broth, but warm. She didn't sit beside him, only stood nearby as Lydia curled near the hearth, half asleep. You're not from around here, Clara said. No, ma'am. Looking for someone? A wife. The silence snapped taut between them. I was supposed to meet her at Peterson Ranch, he added. Might have been sent wrong. Clara's eyes flicked to Lydia. Well, you found someone. She turned away before he could answer. The days that followed moved like water through a narrow stream. Slow, quiet, steady. Ethan fixed what he could. Fence rails. Door hinges. A broken wheelbarrow. He didn't speak much. Nor did she. But they moved in rhythm. Her hauling buckets from the well, him splitting wood. Her folding sheets, him mending the roof with new nails. At dusk, he'd watch her from the yard as she brushed Lydia's hair, the girl half asleep on her lap, firelight softening her face. It was a home built from loss, but held together with threadbare grace. Once, Clara brought him a tin of salve for a gash across his palm. She didn't speak. Just wrapped the cloth slow and neat, fingers gentle. Their eyes met just once. Thank you, he said. She nodded. Then she let his hand go. He should have left. But he stayed. He wasn't sure when he realized she expected something to come. when he noticed the way she looked to the hills at night, or how her rifle was never far from reach. She never said what she feared, but Ethan had seen men who lived under threat. He knew the stillness in their bones. It came one afternoon. Dust again, riders. 3 of them, hard-faced men with cold eyes and rifles slung like casual insults. One wore a leather vest branded with a scar, his smile curved like a crowbar. "Holt wants your answer," he said. Clara stood in the doorway, Lydia behind her, Ethan beside. "You tell Holt this land's mine," she replied. Her voice didn't tremble. "My husband built it." "Your husband's 6 feet under." Ethan stepped forward, gaze steady. "You got business, talk to me." Scar vest grinned. "Mail order stray, huh? Shouldn't take in strays. They bite." He tipped his hat and rode off. That night, Clara sat on the porch long after Lydia had gone to bed. Ethan handed her coffee. She took it without looking. "My husband fought Holt's men 2 years back. They wanted water rights. He stood his ground. Died in the mud." She sipped slowly. "They left us alone, till now. You going to sell?" Her eyes flashed. "I've sold enough already." Ethan didn't ask what that meant. Instead he built reinforced doors, dug trenches near the barn, fixed hinges, taught Lydia how to hide beneath the floorboards. Clara watched silent. Her eyes softened day by day. The night before the storm, Lydia curled beside Ethan as he sharpened tools by the fire. She whispered again as if confessing a secret. "You're our best thing," she said. "Mama don't smile, but she watches you like stars." He looked up. Clara stood behind her, eyes glistening, mouth open, but no words came. Rain broke just after dawn. Holt came with 6 men, torches in hand. They circled the house like wolves. Ethan stood in the doorway, Clara behind him, rifle clutched. "You still here?" Holt called, soaked and sneering. "Must mean you're hers now." Ethan didn't answer. Flames licked the barn first. The horses screamed. Lydia cried from the crawl space. Gunfire tore the stillness. Ethan fired once, twice. Clara too. 1 man fell, another fled. But Holt reached the porch, pistol drawn. He grabbed Clara's arm, dragging her through the rain. Ethan didn't think, he tackled Holt off the steps. Mud swallowed them. They wrestled in the downpour, fists landing like hammers. Holt drove a knife across Ethan's side, but Ethan drove him into the fence, cracking timber. Another shot rang out. Claire. Holt reeled. Then a final crack, wood splitting. A beam from the barn, weakened by fire, collapsed in a thunderous crash. Holt rolled, pinned. He screamed once. Then silence. Smoke curled. Rain hissed down. Ethan staggered to his feet, bleeding, soaked but breathing. Clara ran to him, arms catching him before he fell. Inside, Lydia emerged, barefoot and blinking as if the world had changed shape. She looked up at them both, then whispered, "Can we keep him now?" Clara didn't answer. She just pressed her forehead to Ethan's chest and let herself cry for the first time. Later, as dawn bled rose over the ridge, Ethan sat on the porch steps, bandaged and quiet. Clara stood in the doorway, arms folded. Lydia danced barefoot in the dewy grass. Clara looked down at the man who'd never meant to find them. "You still think this was the wrong ranch?" she asked. He smiled without showing teeth. "No, ma'am." The wind shifted, and from the trail behind them, hoofbeats again. Faint, slow. Someone else was coming. Clara's face paled. But this time she stepped down beside Ethan, took his hand. They would meet it together.